This is TWiT.
Apple made a lot of money. That's true. In Q4, the color charts are up from Jason Snell's fabulous 6 colors. He's become famous now for these charts. I asked Jason, how many hours does it take to make these? He says it's all automatic. I don't know. 61% revenue from phone, wearables 11, services going up 14%. Mac and iPad are kind of the laggards there, but it was, a record Apple quarter. That first fiscal quarter of the year, which is the 4th calendar quarter, is the big selling. So $22.2 billion in profit in 3 months. Wow. That's, money. Apple also announced 1.5 billion active devices in the marketplace.
More than Microsoft.
More than anybody. Are there that many people in the world? It's an amazing number. Yes, there are, obviously. But they're only 7 billion, so 1.5 billion is pretty good penetration.
Yeah, the only number
and
80%
are on iOS 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was surprising. 80% total on the latest iOS. Go ahead, Devendra.
Sorry, total Facebook users too is, I think, like an interesting number because that's upwards of 2 billion now, or close to 3 billion. Like,
they announced
we're reaching crazy points.
Facebook also had great results, and it was the monthly active users was over 2 billion, but even the daily active users was like 1.5 billion. It was, I can't remember the numbers exactly. Maybe you guys do, but it was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Not Stephen King though. He is a Facebook recuser.
Hold on, I got it right here. Daily active users, 1.66 billion.
What?
Monthly active users, 2.5 billion.
Jeez.
But then, you know what, Devendra, what I think you're thinking about is if you count across the entire family of apps.
Yes.
Where's that number? That's the one at 2.89 billion.
WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook together, 2.89 billion. That's almost half the world's. I mean, it is almost certainly everybody on the internet, right?
Yes.
We estimate about 3 billion on the internet.
Or like over the age of 12, because I think Benedict Evans has a thing up about that today. So if you count adults, we're getting to half.
It's insane. It's just crazy that we're talking about billions when it comes to devices and users at this point from single companies, not just like, everybody on the internet, but one company has this huge slice of the pie. It's insane.
Is big tech too big? Certainly, that's the current, thought among all the Democratic candidates anyway. Devendra, is big tech too big?
I think so. I think we've gotten way, way too big. And, we've talked about this the last few times I've been on. It does feel like the tech industry has come from the mentality of kind of being the outsiders, the ones who have been fighting against the man. And now they are the man, and they are so big that, countries don't know how to deal with them. They're bigger. Facebook is bigger than most countries, and the power and influence these things wield, there's nobody to keep them at check except for their CEOs, who all seem to be either clueless or out of the loop or just have no clue how to handle this power.
Or children.
Yeah,
they're children.
We need something.
They're young people. I don't know if you stipulate, as I think everybody does, that big tech is maybe too big, I don't know what you do about it. I don't know if there's anything to do about it.
Can I push back and say it depends on what you mean by too big?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think I might have even said this on this show before. The only previous to this, the only company that you could think of that's like, okay, my addressable market is every human being on the planet is maybe like Coca-Cola, but no one is like Coca-Cola shouldn't sell
That's a good point.
Every human being. It just depends on what you do with what you have.
But that is kind of the point, because Coca-Cola doesn't have influence over how people think, what they wear, who they vote for.
But they have huge cultural influence is the thing. Like, I've been to, my family's from Guyana, South America. So I've been to remote villages in South America, far from civilization. And the one thing you can count on getting is a nice cold, Coke.
But that's a good thing.
That's a good thing, but...
What's wrong with that?
We look at the rising obesity levels across the world.
Obesity.
Like all these companies are kind of
there is that, but they can't leverage sugar water to do other things destroy markets or mess with democracies, things like that.
I think, but nobody really. I apologize. You're right. We always talk about this, so I'll stop. But a final thought.
Let's keep talking about it, please.
I think nobody really.
It's a big thing.
thought about what it would mean if a handful of companies dominated the discourse in society, not just U.S. society, but global society.
Yeah.
Nobody
I also
really
feel like, at least in terms of the tech people, there aren't as many people maybe even thinking like the way Steve Jobs used to, like thinking in a broader mindset and about what their stuff means and what it means for the world. And I feel like the philosophy that's driving a lot of tech these days is very much like, let's get as many users as possible, to hell with what it means for democracy or anybody for that matter.
Well, and Apple's a good case in point. You were a participant in the 6 Colors annual report card, Devendra, along with others well-known. And one of the number one complaints people seem to have, I don't remember what your thoughts were on this, was that it was unseemly that Apple provided essentially a campaign photo op for the president in Austin at the plant down there. That was, of all the things people were most unhappy about, it was Apple's political behavior.
Almost definitely. And Tim Cook was right there, like within the first few months Trump was in office, sitting at the table along with other, major CEOs and just suffering through those meetings.
I would have said that's his job as a CEO. It's regardless of who's president or what policies he enforces. Your job is and this is the problem with tech being too big, is that really it's a business, and your job is to make more money. And that's Tim Cook's doing his being a responsible CEO, which means that, and I've said this before, companies are amoral. They don't have a sense of good or bad. They're there to make money. How important is Apple's massive flex plant in Austin, where they're cranking out dozens, if not hundreds, of Mac Pros, Wesley?
It's not that big. Also, I mean, it's big for a piece of real estate, but if you look at like Tesla's factory or something like that, it's nowhere compared in that size. Which is, it's also, once again, it's not factory. It's been there for a while, and it just blends into the landscape. It's not anything very significant.
It's a factory in the same way a Play-Doh Fun Factory is a factory. It's the same way my son's Lego table is a factory. It assembles products.
Yes, exactly. From all around the world.
All over the world.
They don't actually make anything. No raw material comes in, and products come out. And if I could talk about like what you're saying, like, is tech too big? I think the issue is that the dependence on other companies that build upon these technologies, that is where their power comes from. No one's building their business on just selling Coke, but people are building an ad business, a consultancy, photo editing, copywriting, all of that based on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's enabling so much. That's why so many more people are coming to depend on it.
But that's important, right? That's what a platform does. That's what Windows did in the 90s, right? It provided a stable platform for people to create businesses on.
Sure. I would say we have.
But the thing is, it's controlled by Facebook in terms like even Windows, if they say, hey, we not allow third-party applications, you just don't upgrade, right? You don't choose to move on to the next thing. You can, in some ways, you have the ability to opt into those rules. But with Facebook, if they change something, everyone has to adopt that platform and that stance.
Devendra, go ahead.
It's good to remind people that we have the internet. This is the platform. This is the Wild West where we could create anything. I am a bit sad seeing companies like Facebook and all like basically consolidate how communication happens, how we think of the internet, and the possibilities of the internet. Like, to me, that's really disappointing and very sad. So on a broader level, what can we do? We talk about this all the time. Regulation would be nice. People who actually understand the technology in government and in leadership, who can actually keep these companies in check too. Like, I'm sure you guys talked about that Clearview AI story, but that stuff is insane. And the only reason Google and others haven't done it yet is because even they thought to themselves, this is crazy technology.
We can't do that.
We can't do this. We can't go this far. But that's also not preventing a small company backed by Peter Thiel to, invest in facial recognition tech and go crazy with it, because nothing is stopping them.
I feel like it's almost the closing the barn door after the horse is gone. It's out there now. There's nothing we can do about it. Your face is everywhere, and everybody's got it, and law enforcement has it. And I admire, companies like Apple for at least trying to keep some lid on privacy. Of course, Apple, one could say, only does that because their iAds product failed, and so they don't have any ad revenue. So they can they can afford to say, "Oh, privacy is a good thing."
Yeah, but did you see even that most recent acquisition they did? Well, first of all, I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's something.ai, xnor.ai.
Xnor, yeah.
Yeah. So number one, the whole point is that they, in theory, you could do any sort of machine learning and AI stuff on the device, so it doesn't have to go back to the cloud. So
that's
blah, blah,
great. Isn't that great?
Right.
Yeah.
Privacy. But then also they backed out of that Pentagon thing that Google had to back out of too.
Yeah. So Xnor had a contract with the Pentagon to do face recognition for drones. And this is the one Google was going to get involved in, and Google's engineers petitioned them, and they pulled out. Apple probably has nothing to do with politics. It probably has more to do with appearance. Canceled that Maven contract once they bought Xnor. They said, we're not going to do that.
It's an interesting thing that you were just talking about, like, well, this independent company doing this facial recognition stuff, like that. This is a rare case of like one of the big platforms buying technology that maybe could be used for nefarious things and being like, no, we only want to use this for stuff that maybe would be consumer friendly and user friendly and privacy friendly.
Yeah.
Well, Xnor, if I remember correctly, also did the AI for Wise and Wise cameras.
Oh,
and they
that's
pulled
right.
out of that contract.
That's right.
So I'm guessing there's a possibility they just canceled all contracts across the board, so everyone was available to work on their projects.
Yeah, Wise was left with their pants down because the face recognition on the Wise cameras stopped working when Xnor got purchased. That's exactly right. Yeah. But it looks good for Apple to say, well, we're not going to do the DoD thing. I think it's more complicated than that. Remember Jeff Bezos saying, look, it's patriotic. Companies in America have always done their best work for the defense of this country. That's patriotic. What's wrong with that?
I think people confuse abiding by the law and helping the government with right and wrong. Turning in Nazis in Nazi Germany was what the government wanted, and it was what was considered, quote unquote, a good citizen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you can't like put what's good and bad with what's the law and what's not the law. Those aren't the same thing.
Oh, you sound like a hippie.
I was going to say there. I mean, like, there's a distinction between helping your country remain strong with its national defense, and I get what you're saying in terms of like the division line between morally right and not. But
Ford built tanks and airplanes for the American war effort in World War II. Everybody did. And maybe they made a little money on it, but at the same time, it's the right thing to do. It's patriotic.
And also firebombing Dresden, you can make all sorts of arguments as morally reprehensible and a war crime and things like that. But
that's true.
But the point
and
is,
Dow made napalm during Vietnam. And
if all of this technology stuff is to get an edge, and I'm not making like I also applaud Apple for not getting involved with this particular program. But if all of these technologies now, like AI, are what keep you ahead in military stuff, in defense, then at what point are you hobbling your own country if you don't participate?
It's complicated, isn't it?